Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror, Volume 7, Day 16 is coming at you live. All right, so we're going to take it back to 2009 with a film that I have actually been wanting to see for so long. It's one of the very, very few Unearthed, older Unearthed films releases that I didn't own. And I finally came across a copy of this for dirt cheap at Cinema Wasteland at the Sean Donahue table, which made complete sense why he was selling this movie. And he had it there for $10. I know it's been out of print for a long time, and I just kind of missed this one back in the day. So very, very happy to finally obtain this movie. And of course, it's from 2009, and it is called Brainjacked. Yes, this one right here, it's pretty much like a compilation of like Florida filmmakers coming together to make this movie. Like, it's directed by Andrew Allen, who actually went on to produce the Oh No Show, the Uh-Oh Show, but the Herschel Gordon Lewis's last film, which is pretty cool, with Andy Lalino, who helped produce that film, who actually directed a short. He was, I guess, kind of a director before. He directed a short in 2003 called Filthy, which is very, very famous around the Florida underground horror film scene and stuff like that. But yeah, this one right here actually has special effects done by Marcus Cook, which you may know. He directed Rot, and he worked on tons and tons of films. It's got an appearance from Stephen Biro in the film, who of course owns Unearthed Films. Joel Wynkoop is actually in the film, who's super famous around Florida for being in like tons and tons of films, especially Tim Ritter's films and things like that. So there's just like a compilation of everybody. Oh yeah, even Chris Woods does the editing in the film, who owns the Sleazebox. So like I said, everyone kind of coming together on this one to make Brainjacked in 2009. Pretty cool stuff, actually. Pretty cool. So getting into the premise of the movie, basically it's about our lead character, Tristan, who is pretty much down on his luck in life. He's had a huge fight with his stepdad. He, literally a physical altercation, gets kicked out of his house. He's out on the streets now. Doesn't really know what to do. He's sitting in a park one night and gets approached by this beautiful girl named Lainey. And she tells him that, she lives with a bunch of people, and, it's kind of like a sanctuary. They've all been kind of helped and stuff by this doctor who has the gift. And she says, why not just come over and check it out and things like that. So that's what he does. She kind of lures them into this place, and he's there, and he notices that the doctor's got a very strange way of kind of relieving pain from all these people and stuff like that. But what this doctor does is basically drills into their head. It's a special new way of relieving like migraine pains and digging deep into mental disorders and stuff. He's got the gift of curing mental disorders and stuff. So he sees the doctor actually drill into people's heads, and he's very unsure about it at first, of course, because why wouldn't you be fucking something drilling into your head? But then he sees that it goes well. These guys are kind of cured of their pain and stuff. So he goes through it, it gets drilled in his head. And he doesn't have his migraines anymore. So he's kind of living in the sanctuary, which is basically code name for cult, But then he starts to realize that things aren't really as they seem. He's having these weird kind of blankouts or blackouts and stuff like that. And things just aren't really as they seem and stuff like that. And then of course, something happens, and he discovers that what the doctor's been doing is when he's drilling into their heads, he's actually putting a chip in their brain to control all these people and stuff like that. So now once he uncovers this, it's a fight to basically survival and figure out what he's going to do and stuff like that. So yeah, that is basically the premise of Brainjacked. Now, my thoughts on the movie, man, this is a really interesting film. I love these type of kind of mad scientist type films. I've always been a big fan of these things. And I love the premise. Drilling into someone's head is just such a gnarly way of of doing an experiment on somebody, because it's nasty. I love the doctor in the film. He's kind of he's just casted perfectly, because he looks like a fucking dick. He really does look like a dick. But the thing about the doctor, his hand is a drill. So it's like this medieval type, kind of crazy fucking mad scientist shit going on and stuff. His hand is actually literally a drill. So that's kind of interesting, but I really like the premise of the film where this doctor's trying to do, like, he's really trying to experiment on people and, you know, obviously control them. But the thing is, it's not just putting a chip in their head and controlling them to do things that he wants them to do, with the greater goal, I believe, of him wanting to kind of take over the city and then the world and stuff like that. They don't really explain it too much in the narrative. That's actually kind of one of my gripes with the movie, is that the narrative kind of stays in its lane throughout the film, which is kind of a shame, because you like to see a little bit more elevation with, you know, that kind of narrative in the core of it and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I really like the idea of, you know, drilling into the head and stuff like that. But it's kind of cool because he doesn't just do it once. There's different stages of drilling into the head. So you drill in, you get the chip into your head, and then there's like a second stage which actually digs deeper into their core and their mind and stuff, and then there's a third stage, which I think is really cool. So they kind of stage that out and stuff. So the whole premise of the film is really cool. I think the acting in the film is really good. I love when Jodie Winecoop shows up in the film. He's awesome in everything. If you know anything about Winecoop, this guy's been in like a million different low-budget films. He's like the king of shot-on-video, low-budget, just Florida-based films and stuff. He's awesome. He's such a cool guy. Actually, Mr. Cooper just did a top 10 list with Jodie Winecoop, so, you know, go and check that out if you guys are familiar with Mr. Parker, which I'm sure you are. The other thing I really love about this film, I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is very, very dark. It's very fitting to the mood and what's going on and stuff. But the absolute best thing about this movie is the way it looks. The color palette to the film is really cool. It's like, it's not as like colorful as like you would find in like an old Bava or Argento film, but it has that type of deceit to it. It's very cool. It almost has like this kind of dingy, grungy kind of underworld look, but very colorful at the same time. It's very unique. I love the color palette that they used, and, you know, for the whole film, it's just fantastic. But like I said, you know, I love the narrative to the film. My biggest gripe with the film is that it kind of stays in its own lane throughout the whole film. It's a little bit slow going, and that's the problem. You know, we get this, you know, this beginning. The middle is more of, you know, them trying to or Tristan trying to figure out exactly what to do after he discovers that he's got this chip in his head and stuff like that. And it is a little bit slow going. This one isn't probably going to be for, you know, the hardcore Unearthed fans of, like, you know, the general releases, they release a lot of films that are full of blood and gore. And I'm not saying it's not here, but it's more in the third act towards the end of the film. And I will say the effects in the film, when you do get them, are fantastic. Marcus Cook's gore effects in this they're really good. They're really, really damn good. And there's some really good shit that's going on in the end. But it does take a little bit to get to that point. There's a lot of narrative. There's a lot of running around. There's a lot of things that are going on with the characters and stuff like that. And I really do like that. I like how they flushed out the characters in this. But they almost did that a little bit more than, you know, extending or, you know, moving along the core narrative with the doctor and stuff. Because I'm just kind of guessing, unless I missed that they said that he was trying to take over the world. But I think it's more implied that's what his kind of end goal is. But it would have been interesting to see him doing more with the control of people and stuff like that. Because there is a point in the film where he's figured out the third and final drill, the third and final set of controlling the mind and stuff like that. So, but all in all, man, it's a really damn fun film. I had a blast with this. It's something I would definitely watch again to kind of pick up on more things. And you know, every film doesn't have to be filled with blood and gore from top to bottom. It really doesn't. Sometimes you do need a narrative. Sometimes you need some character development and things like that. But I think it all works here for the most part. Again, you know, the look at this film is fantastic. It's pretty cool. And yeah, if you're into these type of films, it's a lot different than, you know, a lot of the regional Florida-based horror films. You know, this one, it plays off a little bit more serious. You know, it's a little bit more, I'm not saying a lot of the films aren't serious and stuff like that, but it definitely looks different. It's got a different type of idea. It's not shot on video and things like that. So, but all in all, a very good project. Yeah, it's like I said, you know, Andrew Allen, I don't know if I mentioned his name, but he's the director of the film, but he went on to produce the Ono show, the Uh-Oh show. And if you've ever seen that film, man, that shit is funny as hell. It was Herschel Gordon-Lewis's last film. He directed that like 27 years after his previous one or something like that. It's just crazy, but it's kind of cool that they developed that project and got Herschel Gordon-Lewis involved and blah, blah, blah. So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, a hodgepodge of Florida filmmakers coming together to make this film. I think it works. I'm going to come in at an 8 out of 10 on this one. So very, very happy to have this in the collection finally. I love the tagline on this. Drill the brain, command the mind, control the world. So it does say control the world, but I think it's more just kind of implied in the film. I don't really think he's, I'm going to take over the world. It doesn't turn into a fucking James Bond movie. It really doesn't. But still, if it sounds like it's up your alley, if you like mad scientist films with crazy drilling in the head and then, you know, just lots of really cool things that are going on in the film, it almost has like a very paranoid feel to it. I really like that. I love paranoid type films. It's cool. So Brainjacked from 2009. Give it a shot from Unearthed. If you guys can find a copy. I know it's a little bit scarce now, but anyways, guys, that's going to do it here for day 16 on the 31 Days of Horror, and I will be back tomorrow with something obviously older, because that's the way we do it. We go new, old, or contemporary, older. I shouldn't say new. It's not necessarily new. But yeah, check you guys later. And as usual, deuces!